Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, more than 25,000 fans flocked to Bloomington this past weekend for the running of the largest collegiate men's and women's bike race. Our IUSDV team was out covering the festivities all weekend long.
And the softball team swept Maryland in a 3-game series behind 3 complete game pitching performances and hits from a few key juniors. That and more coming up. This is Hoosier Sports Night.
From Franklin Hall, on the campus of Indiana University, you're watching Hoosier Sports Night.
Hello and welcome to Hoosier Sports Night. I'm Austin Machacardi.
And I'm Juliana Sherry. Austin, it's our final week here in Franklin Hall for season 13 of HSN. And although we'll be getting a break from all the work that it's taken to put in the show, I have to say I'm a little sad to see it go.
It's tough to say that the semester is ending, and so is the show, but how special is it to end it with the greatest collegiate bike race in the country?
Yeah, I certainly can't complain about that. And lucky enough, for the fans who couldn't make it to Bloomington, the IU Student Foundation partnered with the media school to broadcast the Little 500 races via a live video stream.
Now joining me at the desk is one of those Little 500 broadcasters, media school sophomore Josh Eastern. Josh, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, as the play-by-play announcer for the men's race, you saw a lot of what went on throughout the 200 laps. Were you surprised by the end results of last weekend's races with Black Key Bulls taking first?
I don't think I was very surprised. I know Black Key Bulls qualified 8th, and I know that might have caught some people off guard. But this was the deepest team in the field. They had the #1 ITT rider in Xavier Martinez, and they just really, from the very beginning, from the first green flag, they were just going, and they were ready to go. They had a team full of 4 good riders, coached by Ryan Nappi on both the men's and the women's. So he knows what's going on in terms of the Little 500, and he did a great job getting this team prepared.
He sure did. And if you look at the results without having seen the race, it seems that the race wasn't very competitive as Black Key Bulls won by 8 seconds. How competitive was the race in reality?
No, this was a very competitive race, and I know there was a wreck in lap 1 in turn 3, and that really kind of bumped a couple teams off the back, and I know that just kind of separated the field a little bit, but the cream kind of rose to the top. You had SAE in there, you had SIGEP in there, you had Black Key Bulls in there, you had Beta in there, and there were a lot of teams that raced well in this race, but in the end it was just Black Key Bulls and their depth. And this was a very good race. I do believe that, because Black Key Bulls, they didn't really pull away until the last 30 laps or so, and that's when they really started to push that 8 seconds like you mentioned.
A lot of teams did really well, but were there any teams that overperformed in this year's race? Anybody that exceeded expectations?
One team I'd probably say is Grey Goat. They qualified 15th in this race, but they had 3 senior riders that have ridden. That this is their 4th Little 500. Brad Klingelli was one of those riders. He's their top rider. He was really impressive in my opinion, and they finished 2nd. So I mean that was a very good race for Grey Goat, and that was probably the team that impressed me most.
On the flip side of that, were there any teams that didn't really live up to their expectations?
Yeah, maybe Jet Black a little bit. I know that was formerly Delts last year, but they got kicked off campus, obviously. But they got in a wreck and kind of got their bike tangled with Beta Theta Pi, and that kind of pushed them to the back of the pack. Also, Cutters, I expected a little bit more of them. I know they finished on the podium and finished 3rd, but they had a really good group of riders that I thought was going to be impressive in this race. They didn't really just have that extra X factor in this race to get up to the front near Black Key Bulls, but still a very good race from Cutters.
Well, Josh, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we'd love to have you back anytime next season.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
We've talked about the men's race here with Josh, but in the women's race, there was a highly anticipated battle between Delta Gamma and Theta, and the 30th running of the women's race did not disappoint. Hoosier News Source reporter Mackenzie Young was out at Bill Armstrong Stadium covering the race.
Ladies, mount your Little 500 bicycles.
It's the words almost every IU student yearns to hear every April. The Little 500 weekend began Friday with what was sure to be an intense race. Just weeks before the event, Delta Gamma made headlines as their 2017 bike team broke the record for the fastest qualifying time since 2009. Shortly after the green flag was waved and the women began their 100 laps, it began to rain on the parade, but that didn't stop the women and their motivation to win the title.
Here at the Armstrong Stadium, bikers and their organization's excitement are at an all-time high as the Little 500 women's race comes down here.
With only one major accident occurring around laps 20 and 25, Delta Gamma held up their reputation battling between the first 5 spots for a majority of the first half of the race. Although the 4 riders put up a good fight, it was not the outcome that they had expected. For junior rider Rachel Brown, this is her first competitive race since joining Kappa Alpha Theta at the end of her freshman year.
It's an incredible feeling. It's something that I've imagined for myself for a long time, but to actually experience it is something completely different.
Not only did the team make their own history by winning the most races in the 30 runnings of the women's race, but one rider has a more special ending to celebrate.
I was not the one to complete the last lap. That was our incredible senior, Grace Bennett, who, I think we're planning on having her do that for us. And that's because we had a lot of faith in her ability to.
Brown says it was the constant motivation and support of her coach, family, and alumni that helped the team be the best that they could out on that rainy track.
What you saw today was a product of a lot of work and not just 100 laps ridden very hard and strategically.
For Hoosier News Source, I'm Mackenzie Young.
Last weekend, the IU baseball team traveled to Ann Arbor to take on the Michigan Wolverines. The Wolverines got off to a quick start, scoring 4 runs in the first inning. Indiana came back in the top of the third by scoring 3 runs, but Michigan scored 5 more in the bottom of the 6th, and they never looked back, winning 12-5 to avoid the sweep. Paulie Milto couldn't catch a break on Sunday, picking up the loss, and Luke Miller was a bright spot in the Hoosier loss, going 2 for 4 at the plate, hitting a home run and collecting 3 RBIs on the day. The team also traveled to Indianapolis to take on Ball State at Victory Field. They won 4-3 in 10 innings to make their record 22-16-2. They'll play host to the Big Ten leading Maryland Terrapins this weekend with a 6 o'clock start on Friday. Now, a key for the Indiana baseball team so far this season has been the production they've gotten from the bottom of their lineup. My co-anchor has been pulling double duty out in the field, and as the IUSTV baseball beat reporter, Austin decided to find out just how productive IU's 9-hitter has been.
People usually associate hitting 9th in the batting order with being the worst batter in that order, but that isn't always the case. In this study, I compared the players who have started the majority of each Big Ten team's games in the 9-hole based on a compilation of their offensive stats. The goal of this was to determine which player has contributed the most to their team within their role as the 9-hitter. Once I compared the players' runs created, batting averages, OPS, strikeouts, base running, and sacrifice hits, I found that Michigan outfielder Johnny Slater has had the best offensive season of the 9-hitters in the Big Ten. This should be no surprise as the Wolverines have the highest scoring lineup in the league, averaging over 7 runs scored per game. Following Slater were A.J. Lee of Maryland, Kevin Welsh of Rutgers, Indiana's Jeremy Houston, and Ohio State catcher Jacob Barnwell. Houston has been very productive at the end of the lineup for IU so far this season. As of Monday, he was hitting .265 with 13 RBIs, 10 runs scored, and an OPS of .728. Houston has only struck out 14 times this season, which was tied for second best in the group. Houston's role for the Hoosiers will continue to grow in importance as the season heats up and an NCAA tournament bid hangs in the balance. Juliana?
Now, a key stretch of games for the Hoosiers will take place when they host the Big Ten baseball tournament for the very first time from May 24th to the 28th. Now, taking a look at the female perspective coming into last weekend, the IU softball team had lost 4 of their last 5 games and were entering a must-win series against the Maryland Terrapins. IUSTV softball beat reporter Kaylee Rodell was out at Andy Moore Field as the Hoosiers delivered in front of their home crowd.
IU wrapped up our 4-game homestand when they played the 3-game series against Maryland this weekend. They were looking to bounce back after their loss against Kentucky last Wednesday and found it through strong pitching, a great defense, and well-timed hits. The weekend kicked off with a doubleheader on Friday. In Game 1, fans were on the edge of their seats come crunch time. It came down to a dramatic sacrifice fly ball to allow Taylor Uden to tag up and reach home in the last frame and take Game 1 2-1. This created confidence for the Hoosiers as they went into the second game scoring early, including a 2-run homer by Uden in the first inning. IU took the second game 5-0 to finish out the day with 2 wins. Indiana was feeling good headed into Sunday going for the sweep. Tara Traynor battled through her second complete game of the weekend to shut down the Terrapins with a strong performance, allowing just 1 run. IU missed some big opportunities for runs, including ending the first inning with the bases loaded with just 1 run to show for it. This allowed Maryland to stay in the thick of things, and the game went into extra innings. In the bottom of the 8th, Rebecca Blitz came in clutch with a walk-off single to left center to score the go-ahead run and keep the Hoosiers undefeated on the weekend. After Sunday's game, Coach Gardner talked about how proud she was of her team's effort.
Well, I felt like my team came out and battled and played hard, and I mean, we had really good pitching and great defense. I mean, we made some phenomenal defensive plays, which kept us in the games, and then we found a way to score. Rebecca came up big today, but we came up huge on Friday, and so I'm just really, really happy. I think it was an overall team performance. I mean, I just feel like as a group they battled and found a way to get it done, and couldn't ask for anything more.
The Hoosiers are looking to continue their winning streak as they head down to Ann Arbor this weekend to play Michigan in a 3-game series. For IUS TV Sports, I'm Kaylee Rodell.
As Kaylee mentioned, IU goes on the road this weekend before returning home for their final conference series of the regular season against Michigan State.
Juliana, this may be our last show of the semester, but there's still a lot of events to get out to before the school year ends.
Yeah, you're right, Austin. Baseball, softball, they have yet to see their seasons end, and getting out to those events and showing some Hoosier spirit can help you pick up some Crimson Guard reward points before the start of summer. Here's a look at some of those events.
The men's tennis team finished up their regular season last weekend on the road to the end with a final record of 13-12. This week on Who's Your Hoosier, Juliana's joined here in studio by head coach Jeremy Wertzman and junior Raheel Manji to reflect on their season.
Thanks, Austin. Coach Raheel, I know you guys are getting prepared for Big Ten, so thanks for taking your time out of your week to come to Franklin Hall and come here in the studio. So, Coach, let's start off with you. You're coming to the end of your 3rd season as the head coach of IU men's tennis. What are some of the biggest surprises as well as some of the biggest improvements you've seen from this season?
Yeah, from this season, we brought in 6 new players, a couple of transfers and 4 new freshmen. So I think that was huge to, everyone to become a team. That was the biggest thing that we really wanted to accomplish in the fall and throughout this season, because a lot of these guys didn't really know each other's names a year ago. And so I think we've done a really good job of bringing those guys together and everyone really coming together and building a team, and that's what we talk a lot about. In some of our matches that we played this season, we went on the road to Seattle and beat University of Washington in a very tough environment, and that was an awesome win. Another great result was playing Louisville at our home courts after losing the doubles point and really just stepping up and playing great tennis against a big rival, and as well as Purdue, which is another great result. So I think we've had a lot of positive steps in the right direction, and it's been such a nice feel to really bring the team together and watch them grow.
And Raheel, for you, you started off the season really well, then you were injured and had to miss out on 9 matches. What was it like to be able to come back for those final 2 home games here against Iowa and Nebraska and be able to pull out a couple of wins?
Well, it meant everything really to, when I got injured, I was trying to think what the best way to handle it would be. And I prepared myself to have as great of a comeback as I could. So to be able to come back and have 2 good wins and 2 kind of thriller type matches was really just what I wanted. And it made you appreciate how much the season means to you. And I live for the season, so being out kind of made me grateful in a way.
Now, looking at the final part of your season, Big Ten tournament upcoming, and you get a bit of a chance for some revenge against Minnesota. You lost to them last weekend 3-4. It was close, tight match throughout the game. But now you get to go into Big Tens and get to play up against them again. What are your expectations?
Yeah, we couldn't be more excited, to play against Minnesota on Thursday. We lost a thrilling match to them Sunday. It could have went either way. It was a big momentum shifts throughout the match where we were up. And then we had to fight back, and we actually did, and then they actually came out at the end. But they had about, say, 200, 300 fans there, and, they were respectful fans, but they had a lot of people behind them. And I think, us playing them at a neutral site and similar matchups, I can't wait to play them on Thursday.
Raheel, for you, you're coming back from this injury you talked about, coming back for those final 2 games. You get to go into Big Tens and get to play against Minnesota once again. How do you feel about that?
More excited than ever. We want to try and hit it back harder than, than the last time. We want to be better in every type of aspect, and that's kind of the mentality I think the whole team is trying to take. Is we're not just coming back to, give it the same effort. We're coming back to come back even harder, and we're excited. The whole team is.
Now finally, not to look too much into next season, but there's a lot of young talent returning. Antonio Cimbellin, Zach Brodney, as well as Bennett Crane. Some of those young guys who have really made an impact in your starting lineup this year are going to be back, as well as you, Raheel, and as well as your doubles partner, Kevon Tabrizi. So what are you guys looking forward to the most next year?
Yeah, I think, we had a lot of experience this year, and I think we're going to be great to grow on that. There won't be as many surprises throughout the season. We're going to know each other's personalities. We're going to be able to really focus in on how to get their games rising to higher levels as a coaching staff, and know when we need to push it and other times when we need to lay off. So I think there's so many ways that we can grow and do better, and I think my coaching staff has really learned a lot about these guys this season, and we love what we see. So we're excited for the future and what there is to bring for IU tennis.
Raheel, you're going to be a senior, and I mentioned it, your doubles partner, who you were partnered up with most of the season, is going to be returning as well. Right. How do you feel heading into next year?
Very confident. I think with the whole lineup, with these young guys, they were kind of figuring it out this year, and they're very experienced right now. So, and to have Kevon back with us, he's really done a great job here down the stretch of the season. So he's got great experience. I think we're going to be a much more mature and ready team going into the season.
All right. Well, thank you, Coach Wertzman. Thank you, Raheel. Good luck with the rest of your season.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot. All right. Although the regular season is now over for the men's tennis, now comes postseason play in Big Ten tournament play, set to start this Thursday in West Lafayette against Minnesota. Austin, back to you.
Juliana mentioned Big Tens for men's tennis, but the NCAA tournament is also just around the corner, and this weekend could be the deciding factor on whether Indiana will get a berth. We've already talked about the new Excellence Academy coming to Memorial Stadium, but now even more improvements can be made thanks to a very generous donation.
The donation was made by Kaylin Ursay, Vice Chair owner of the Indianapolis Colts, and 2010 graduate of the former IU School of Health, Physical Education, and Recreation. This donation will be made to the For All, the Indiana University Bicentennial campaign. It will go towards the Excellence Academy in Memorial Stadium. There will be a space dedicated to the family called the Ursay Family Wellness Clinic.
The Wellness Clinic will provide state-of-the-art technology to benefit athletes' health and safety, as well as helping them develop leadership skills. The Excellence Academy is on track to be completed in 2018.
Well, Austin, that's it. That's a wrap on season 13 of Hoosier Sports Nite. Of course, a big thanks to everyone who tuned in all year long as a senior. I will not be back next year, but Austin, you'll be back here behind the desk in the fall.
Yes, Juliana, I will be back alongside longtime IUS TV reporter Lydia Knoll. Now, although this is the end of Hoosier Sports Nite for this year, be sure to like our page, IUS TV Sports, on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at IUS TV Sports. There's still plenty of action left for Indiana athletics, and we'll have the recaps on our social media sites.
Also, be sure to check out the final episode of The Toss-Up, airing this Sunday when they discuss the NCAA transfer rules. For Austin Matricardi, I'm Juliana Sherry. Have a great summer, and go Hoosiers.